Welcome to Zoe Stories. Grandma's Potion. Now I'm her perfect daughter-in-law. The afternoon sun spilled through the tall windows of the small apartment, casting a golden glow over the room. I, Leo, sat slouched on the couch, my laptop perched on my knees and a half-empty cup of coffee growing cold beside me. Life had always been a delicate balancing act. By day, I was a regular office worker, typing away at spreadsheets and answering emails. By night, well, that was a different story. A secret side of myself that few knew, even Mia, my girlfriend. I wasn't a stranger to cross-dressing. From a young age, I had been fascinated with the fluidity of appearance, the soft brush of fabric, the weightless thrill of makeup, the subtle sway of heels that made me feel lighter, freer. But it had always been private. Never spoken of aloud. Never shared. Mia, my girlfriend of 3 years, had no idea. Our relationship was solid, built on trust, yet the fear of revealing this hidden part of myself gnawed at me. Not because I thought she would reject me, but because it wasn't just a whim, it was an identity, a vulnerability. I had rehearsed countless scenarios in my head, but I never imagined the chaos that would come the day my grandmother's old potion came into my life. The apartment smelled faintly of lavender, Mia's attempt to freshen the air after a long day at work. She had been my anchor, the one person who made me feel normal, loved, understood. Yet I feared the day she would see the other side of me, the side I had kept locked away. The phone buzzed. A message from Mia. "Don't forget dinner with your family tonight. Mom insists you come." Dinner with Mia's family. How had I managed to dodge this for so long? It was a minefield. Her family was traditional, her grandmother especially, a stern woman with piercing eyes and expectations that could crush even the bravest soul. I shivered at the thought. Mia entered the room, shedding her coat. "You've been staring at that laptop for hours. Don't tell me you forgot about dinner again." I forced a smile. "Of course not. Just wrapping up work." Her gaze lingered, inquisitive. "You've been acting different lately. Everything okay?" I hesitated, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Yeah, just tired, I guess." She nodded, unconvinced. "Well, don't stay up too late. Tomorrow's a big day." Big day. Little did I know that this big day would alter my life in ways I could never anticipate. Later that evening, as I packed my bag with a casual shirt and trousers, I noticed an old wooden box sitting on the shelf, an heirloom from Mia's grandmother. It was delicate, carved with floral patterns, and exuded a faint, almost magical aroma. A folded note lay atop it. "For the one who seeks perfection." Curiosity overrode caution. I opened the box. Inside, nestled in crimson silk, was a small vial filled with a swirling, luminescent liquid. The potion shimmered, almost calling to me, whispering promises I could barely comprehend. A memory flickered, Mia mentioning her grandmother's legendary elixirs that were said to transform more than appearances. I laughed it off. Silly superstition, I told myself. Yet an inexplicable pull drew me closer. The living room suddenly felt smaller, charged with an energy I couldn't name. My hands hovered over the vial, heart thumping. What would happen if I tried it? The thought alone sent a shiver down my spine. I had always dreamed of stepping fully into the side of myself that loved elegance, softness, femininity. But this was real, tangible, and yet dangerous. Mia returned to the couch, picking up her book. I slipped the vial into my pocket, forcing calm onto my face. "Just looking at some old family stuff," I lied, voice steady. She looked up briefly, her eyes softening. "You've always been fascinated by the old traditions, haven't you?" I nodded, swallowing hard. Yeah, maybe a little too much. The evening passed with forced casualness, laughter, and polite conversation. But every glance at the wooden box, every flicker of memory of the shimmering potion, made my pulse quicken. A secret desire, long buried, was awakening. And I knew when no one was watching, I would have to face it. Because tonight, the line between Leo and what I truly wanted to become, Vanessa, the perfect daughter-in-law, was about to blur. The moment Mia went to bed, the apartment fell into an almost sacred silence. I tiptoed to the shelf where the vial had been resting, its glow faint but mesmerizing in the dim light. My hand trembled as I lifted it, feeling the smooth glass and the warmth emanating from its contents. I sat on the edge of the couch, heart racing. Thoughts swirled in my mind. What if it works? What if it doesn't? The rational part of me screamed caution, but another part, a hidden, daring part, whispered encouragement. This was the chance to finally step into the persona I had always fantasized about. Elegant, graceful, desirable in a way I had never allowed myself to feel. I uncorked the vial, and the scent hit me immediately. Sweet, floral, and intoxicating. It wasn't just perfume, it was a promise. I could feel a tingling warmth spreading from my fingertips to my shoulders, as though the potion were awakening something dormant inside me. My mind flashed to the first time I had ever tried on Mia's heels. The awkward wobble, the way my posture instinctively straightened, the way my body seemed to crave the curves of the skirt I had borrowed. Back then, it was thrilling, secretive, and utterly liberating. Tonight could be permanent. I hesitated, staring at the glowing liquid. My reflection in the dark window seemed to ripple like water. For a moment, I imagined seeing Vanessa instead of Leo staring back at me, longer lashes, softer features, curves accentuated by the right outfit. My pulse quickened. Finally, shaking, I lifted the vial and took a careful sip. The liquid was cool, almost silky, sliding down my throat with a subtle sweetness. Within seconds, a warmth spread through my body, and I felt a strange lightness, as if gravity itself were easing its pull. I stumbled to the mirror. My reflection shimmered. The first changes were subtle. Cheekbones slightly higher, lips fuller, the line of my jaw softening. But within moments, my eyes widened. My hair lengthened, cascading down my shoulders in waves I had only ever imagined. My frame shifted, a delicate grace replacing my familiar masculinity. I gasped, covering my mouth. The thrill was exhilarating, but so was fear. What if Mia woke up? What if she never understood? What if this was irreversible? I stumbled toward the closet, drawn by the instinct to dress the new me. Fabrics whispered from the hangers, silk, lace, satin. My fingers lingered on a floral dress, delicate and pastel. I had never worn anything like it, and yet it called to me. Slipping into the dress was like stepping into another skin. My shoulders felt lighter, my posture naturally elegant. I twirled, watching the fabric sway, and felt the rush of excitement I had never known. For a fleeting moment, I was entirely Vanessa. But with exhilaration came vulnerability. I caught sight of myself in the full-length mirror, and a pang of doubt struck my heart. If Mia sees me like this, will she understand? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This wasn't just a transformation of appearance, it was a test of courage, of identity. And as the potion continued to course through me, I realized I was no longer Leo in the quiet apartment. I was Vanessa, stepping fully into a forbidden dream. The clock ticked past midnight, and the world outside lay silent. Inside, the room was alive with possibility and fear. Every sound, a distant car, the hum of the refrigerator, made me flinch, as though the entire universe were poised to reveal my secret. Yet, despite the fear, I couldn't stop. I adjusted my hair, practiced a smile, and experimented with gestures that felt both foreign and natural. My voice caught in my throat when I whispered, "Vanessa," aloud. The sound was sweet, almost musical, and it thrilled me. A sudden creak from the bedroom startled me. Mia stirred in her sleep. I froze, heart hammering. Could she wake and see me like this? The thought made my pulse race. I ducked behind the couch, holding my breath, realizing that secrecy had never felt more urgent, or the stakes higher. This was only the beginning. Vanessa was no longer a dream. She was real. And the question that lingered in the dark was terrifying and exciting. Could I navigate this new life without being discovered, or would the first slip change everything forever? The first moments of Vanessa's existence left me breathless, but the thrill was quickly overshadowed by panic. Every creak of the apartment, every distant honk, made me flinch. Mia was sleeping just a few feet away, and if she stirred, she would see the truth. The transformation wasn't temporary. It was real. I tiptoed back to the mirror, studying every detail. My shoulders were narrower, my waist cinched subtly, my hips curved just enough to give a natural femininity. The dress clung gently to the contours of my new form, and the sensation was electrifying. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet powerful. Curiosity overpowered caution. I opened the makeup kit Mia had left on the counter weeks ago, a casual gift she thought I might enjoy experimenting with. Powder, eyeliner, blush. It was foreign territory, but Vanessa's fingers moved with surprising confidence. A touch of blush on the cheeks, a sweep of mascara on the lashes, a subtle gloss on the lips. Every movement solidified the illusion. Every stroke made the reflection in the mirror more real, more alive. I laughed softly, a sound both unfamiliar and intoxicating. Vanessa's voice, delicate and melodious, floated through the silent apartment. My reflection smiled back with a charm I had never possessed as Leo. But with the excitement came a gnawing fear. What if this wasn't reversible? I experimented with posture, letting my shoulders drop, my spine curve gracefully. Walking felt strange at first, each step a careful negotiation with unfamiliar hips and delicate arches of my feet. Then came the heels, Mia's. Tall, slim, intimidating. I slipped them on, wobbling dangerously at first, but gradually gaining control. The click-click-click of the heels on the wooden floor was hypnotic. Vanessa was real. She was moving, breathing, inhabiting the space I had always fantasized about. A sudden sound, Mia shifting in her sleep, made me freeze. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed, vulnerable, radiant. I ducked behind the couch, heart racing. Every second stretched endlessly. Vanessa's existence was both thrilling and dangerous. Then my gaze fell on the vial. The potion's glow had dimmed, but its effect on me was permanent, or so it seemed. I realized the potion wasn't just about appearance. It had awakened confidence, poise, and instinctive knowledge of femininity that I had never known. Vanessa wasn't just Leo in a dress, she was a fully formed persona. Yet the mind battles began. Questions gnawed at me relentlessly. How would Mia react? Could I maintain this secret, or would she see right through me? What if her grandmother discovered this? The thought of her grandmother sent shivers down my spine. The woman was legendary for her sharp intuition and strict expectations. Vanessa could never falter in her presence. She would demand perfection. The night stretched on. I practiced smiles, gestures, the tilt of my head, every movement honed to embody Vanessa. My heart pounded with each small success. But the fear of discovery never left. Every noise, the refrigerator, the hum of the heater, the distant traffic, was a potential alarm. I paused by the bedroom door, listening. Mia's breathing was deep, even. Safe for now. I let out a quiet sigh. The thrill of secrecy, of inhabiting this dual identity, was intoxicating. But it was also a trap. Vanessa existed only when Leo was hidden. Every second brought me closer to a truth that might shatter our lives. Finally, I approached the couch again, checking my reflection once more. Vanessa's eyes sparkled with mischief and fear. I touched my lips, feeling the subtle gloss, the softness, the foreign confidence. This was only the beginning. The potion had done more than transform my body. It had awakened something in my soul. Something daring, vulnerable, and irresistibly feminine. And deep down I knew. The real test wasn't the transformation itself. It was surviving the day when Vanessa would meet the world and Mia's family. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, painting stripes of light across the apartment floor. Mia was still asleep, curled comfortably under her blanket. Vanessa, no. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the dress I had picked out the previous night. My reflection stared back with a confidence I had never known as Leo. The previous night had been a test of courage, but today required action. I had to leave the apartment, move through the world as Vanessa, and maintain the illusion of perfection. Every step felt heavy with responsibility. Every glance in the mirror reminded me how fragile this new persona was. I slipped on a pair of flats this morning, less intimidating than heels, but elegant enough to carry Vanessa's presence. My fingers lingered over the powder and blush, refining the subtle artistry I had begun to master. The thrill of creation, the careful sculpting of face and posture, filled me with a strange exhilaration. Vanessa was no longer an experiment. She was real. But reality brought fear. What if Mia woke early? What if she noticed the subtle change in my behavior, the delicate shift in voice or movement? Panic clawed at me, yet curiosity, wild, unrestrained, propelled me forward. I decided to practice in the apartment first, walking through rooms, mimicking social interactions. The sound of my own voice, softer, lilting, almost musical, made my heart skip. I laughed quietly at a joke I imagined myself telling, and the sound surprised me. It was Leo, yet not Leo. Vanessa had a presence that demanded attention, even when the only audience was a silent apartment. Then came the first real challenge, answering the door. A delivery arrived, a small package addressed to Mia. My pulse quickened. Could I handle this as Vanessa? I smoothed my hair, adjusted the dress, and opened the door. The delivery person, a young man with a polite smile, handed me the package. Signature, please. I hesitated, then smiled, trying to make it natural. Vanessa's confidence wavered for a moment, but surged forward. Of course, I said, my voice calm, melodic. I signed the electronic pad, hands slightly trembling but hidden beneath the delicate movements of Vanessa's fingers. Thank you, he said, smiling. Have a great day. I closed the door and leaned against it, heart hammering. First real interaction. First test of Vanessa in the outside world. And it had passed. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of preparation. I practiced gestures, expressions, even the tilt of my head when speaking. Vanessa's persona was becoming second nature, but with every small victory came the gnawing fear that Mia, or worse, her grandmother, could see through the illusion. By noon, I was ready. A quick glance at the mirror reminded me that Vanessa was beautiful, composed, perfect, at least outwardly. But perfection had a price. I could feel the tension in my shoulders, the constant awareness that one wrong step could unravel everything. The duality of my existence became apparent. Leo, hidden but aware, and Vanessa, bold and outward. The apartment had become both stage and cage. Every movement, every glance in the mirror, reinforced that Vanessa was more than just a disguise. She was a living, breathing extension of myself, a part one had longed to explore but had never dared until now. And deep down, I knew the real test was yet to come. Vanessa's first true encounter with the family would determine if this new life could survive scrutiny, or if it would collapse under the weight of expectation and secrecy. By mid-afternoon, the apartment felt both familiar and alien. Vanessa moved through it with growing confidence, but every sound, Mia stirring, footsteps outside, the hum of the heater, kept me alert. The duality of existence weighed heavily. Leo was still here, conscious and aware, yet trapped, observing Vanessa taking her first tentative steps into the world. I decided to push further. Vanessa needed to interact more boldly, to test her abilities. I picked up my phone and called a friend, someone who had no idea of the transformation, someone who knew only Leo. My pulse quickened. Could I maintain the illusion in conversation? Hey, it's me, I said, forcing Vanessa's voice to sound casual, natural. The friend's voice on the line was warm. Leo? You sound different. I swallowed. Just experimenting, I replied, laughter in my tone, trying to keep it light. Vanessa's confidence faltered slightly, but I steadied it, infusing the words with a mix of charm and ease. The friend chuckled. All right, see you later? I hung up, heart pounding. Small victories, yet terrifying ones. Each interaction tested not only Vanessa's social skills, but also my ability to suppress Leo. The next challenge was more immediate. Mia's grandmother was coming for a visit. Unexpected, her timing precise, legendary for noticing the slightest imperfection. Vanessa had to be flawless. Panic surged, but determination followed. I went to the mirror, adjusting the dress, smoothing hair, applying a final touch of blush. Vanessa was ready, or as ready as anyone could be when hiding a secret that could unravel everything. When the doorbell rang, my pulse raced. The grandmother's sharp eyes, known for cutting through pretense, were moments away from judging every detail. I opened the door with a smile, Vanessa's perfect, calm, unflappable smile. "Hello, dear," the grandmother said, eyes scrutinizing. "You're different today." A shiver ran down my spine. The words could be praise or suspicion. It was impossible to tell. Vanessa tilted her head, returning the smile, laughing softly. "Just feeling elegant today," I said. My voice wavered slightly, but the warmth in my tone kept it believable. The visit began. Small talk, tea, careful conversation. Every gesture, every word, was a tightrope walk. I could feel Leo cowering behind Vanessa's eyes, every instinct screaming to reveal the truth. But Vanessa held firm, moving with poise, charm, and subtle femininity that seemed natural. Yet the internal struggle was fierce. Every compliment, every approving nod from the grandmother, both thrilled and terrified me. The potion had transformed my body, but my mind remained split. Could I maintain this balance indefinitely? Would Vanessa become permanent, or would Leo eventually break free, revealing everything? By the end of the visit, I was exhausted but exhilarated. Vanessa had survived her first scrutiny, proving herself capable of deception, elegance, and charm. But the stakes were higher now. The grandmother's approval, or suspicion, loomed as a constant threat, reminding me that perfection was required at every moment. As the apartment fell silent again, I collapsed onto the couch, breathing heavily. Vanessa had taken the first major steps into a world where secrets, charm, and fear intertwined. The dual identity was no longer just a private experiment. It had become a life I had to navigate carefully or risk losing everything. Evenings settled over the apartment, casting long shadows across the walls. Vanessa, my new self, stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker to life. The day had been a whirlwind of controlled panic and delicate triumphs. Mia's grandmother had left, nodding politely, but her sharp gaze lingered in my memory like a blade. Every movement, every smile, every gesture Vanessa had made had been under scrutiny, and she had passed barely. Yet the real challenge was coming. The potion had transformed me physically, but socially and emotionally, Vanessa was still fragile. Each success today had boosted confidence, but it had also intensified the awareness of how easily it could crumble. A single mistake, one slip of the tongue, or a misplaced gesture could expose Leo, unraveling everything. I paced the apartment, testing Vanessa's new instincts. Every step, every sway of the hips, every tilt of the head was deliberate. Vanessa's reflection in the mirror stared back, beautiful, poised, and self-assured. Yet Leo's consciousness lingered beneath the surface, whispering doubts, reminding me of the danger. Then came the internal confrontation. Alone in the apartment, I allowed myself to speak aloud. "Vanessa, how long can you keep this up?" My own voice startled me, delicate and feminine, carrying a weight I had never known. Vanessa answered in thought, instinctively, her confidence unwavering. "As long as I must. I exist now. I will survive. I will perfect this." The duality of identity surged within me. Leo, the cautious, rational side, clashed with Vanessa, the daring, alluring persona. The potion had given life to something new, something that demanded to exist. And yet, every heartbeat was a reminder of risk. Mia could return at any moment. The grandmother could notice a flaw I hadn't yet caught. To steady myself, I turned to preparation. The evening required something special, a test of Vanessa's complete transformation. I selected a new outfit from Mia's wardrobe, a form-fitting dress that highlighted curves, paired with delicate heels that emphasized the grace of movement. The final touch was a wig, carefully styled, completing the illusion. As I applied makeup, Vanessa's instincts guided every movement. Blush swept perfectly across the cheeks, eyeliner enhanced the eyes without appearing exaggerated, lips glossed to a natural, irresistible sheen. Each touch was calculated yet instinctive. I marveled at how effortless Vanessa's confidence had become, even as Leo's fear lingered in the background. The suspense intensified when the doorbell rang unexpectedly. My pulse quickened.
Who could it be? Mia?
Her grandmother returning? A neighbor? Heart hammering, I moved toward the door, controlling Vanessa's posture, her expression, every micro-gesture designed to project composure. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a delivery man with a large box. Relief flooded me, mixed with lingering tension. Still, the interaction was critical. Vanessa greeted him, voice calm, smile practiced. He handed the package, said a few polite words, and left. I closed the door, hands trembling with adrenaline, realizing that every small task was now a test of Vanessa's existence. The night deepened, and the apartment became a stage. I practiced walking, gesturing, and even laughing quietly, ensuring Vanessa felt natural in every action. The potion had not only transformed my body, but had awakened a charisma I had never known. Yet every step reminded me that Leo was still here, observing, calculating, weighing risks. Then came the symbolic moment that cemented the suspense. A mirror in the living room reflected Vanessa fully, her curves, her poise, her delicate hands adjusting the hem of the dress. For a fleeting instant, the illusion faltered. A high heel slipped slightly, threatening to break the perfection. My heart lurched, but Vanessa recovered, fluid and graceful, her presence unshaken. The mirror reflected both selves, Leo, hidden but aware, and Vanessa, bold and irresistible. This was the culmination of the build-up. The potion had created more than a physical change. It had awakened Vanessa, a persona brimming with confidence, allure, and danger. The stakes were higher than ever. Mia's eventual discovery, the grandmother's scrutiny, and the risk of slipping back into Leo's identity loomed like shadows in every corner of the apartment. As the night wore on, Vanessa stood tall, poised, a perfect daughter-in-law in every outward sense. But internally, the tension reached a crescendo. Leo's mind screamed warnings, while Vanessa's instincts urged boldness. The city outside glittered with possibilities and peril. Every heartbeat carried suspense. Every reflection reminded me that the transformation was complete, but survival depended on secrecy. And in that fragile balance of thrill, fear, and identity, the story was ready to transition into the climax, where real tests, close calls, and dramatic obstacles awaited. The next morning arrived like a storm. Sunlight streamed into the apartment, but the warmth did little to calm the tension coiling in my chest. Today was no longer about practice. Vanessa had to navigate the real world under scrutiny, a delicate performance where any misstep could unravel everything. The first challenge came unexpectedly. Mia's grandmother called, requesting that I accompany her to the local market. The casual tone in her voice masked her sharp intent, and I immediately understood the trap. Vanessa had to act naturally in public. Every movement, every glance, every word would be analyzed. There would be no room for error. I dressed carefully, choosing a modest yet elegant outfit that would allow Vanessa to move gracefully while maintaining her allure. The familiar thrill of transformation surged through me, the feel of soft fabric, the click of heels against the hardwood floor, the subtle scent of perfume I'd chosen to mimic Mia's grandmother's expectations of a daughter-in-law. The ride to the market was quiet, tension thick between us. Grandma observed me with piercing eyes, her expression neutral, but her scrutiny palpable. Vanessa spoke politely, responding to questions with charm and deference. Each answer was carefully crafted, balancing friendliness with subtle deference to her authority. A small accident nearly broke the illusion. As we crossed a crowded street, a child tripped and bumped into me. My balance shifted, and for a split second, a A high heel slipped. Panic surged, but Vanessa reacted instantly, steadying herself, laughing lightly, and reassuring the child. Grandma's eyes narrowed for a heartbeat, then softened, as if approving the composure. The market itself was a gauntlet of judgment. Vendors called out greetings, neighbors whispered, children stared. Each interaction tested Vanessa's poise and Leo's control over panic. I felt a deepening internal struggle. The mind of Leo screamed to flee, while Vanessa's instinct urged calm and performance. A moment of symbolic tension occurred when a mirror display outside a boutique reflected my full image. Vanessa's reflection smiled, confident and composed. Behind that reflection, Leo's awareness lingered, noticing the subtleties of femininity, the gentle curve of the waist, the tilt of the head, the sway of hips. Every detail, a reminder of how fragile this deception truly was. The final test of part 1 came as we approached the checkout. Grandma scrutinized my handling of money and interaction with the cashier. Vanessa's hands were steady, movements elegant, and voice soft but assured. Leo's pulse raced, aware of the slightest potential slip. The cashier, oblivious to the tension, smiled politely, accepting the transaction. We left the market, and I exhaled silently, heart pounding. Vanessa had survived the first real-world test. But the encounter left me shaken. Every step reinforced the delicate balance of identity, the constant fear of exposure, and the intoxicating thrill of mastering a persona born from a magical potion. Outside, the city seemed to hum with possibility and danger. Every passerby was a potential observer, every glance a test of skill. Vanessa had proven capable, but the real challenges, the ones that would push both Leo and Vanessa to their limits, were still ahead. The afternoon sun hung heavy in the sky, casting long shadows over the busy streets. Vanessa and Grandma moved through the market with quiet efficiency, but each step was a test of nerves. Every stranger's glance, every subtle nod, every whispered comment felt magnified, as though the world was scrutinizing not just Vanessa, but the secret beneath, the Leo that existed behind her carefully sculpted exterior. The first real obstacle arrived unexpectedly. A family friend, Mrs. Kapoor, spotted us from across the market. Her eyes widened in surprise, and a mischievous smile tugged at her lips. "Vanessa, is that really you? You look different." My heart skipped. Different? Suspicion? Praise? The ambiguity gnawed at me. Vanessa's instincts kicked in, voice sweet and soft, pitch carefully modulated. "Hello, Mrs. Kapoor. I'm just trying something new today," I replied, flashing a warm smile. Mrs. Kapoor laughed lightly, stepping closer, examining me with the scrutinizing eye of someone who knew me as Leo. "New, you say? Well, I must say, you carry it well." Relief and fear collided in equal measure. Vanessa's charm held for the moment, but the encounter reminded me that every public interaction carried the potential for discovery. We continued through the market, each step more perilous than the last. A sudden gust of wind lifted the hem of my dress for a fleeting moment. Leo's heart leapt in panic, but Vanessa's composure did not falter. A quick adjustment, a polite laugh, and the moment passed unnoticed. Yet the thrill lingered, a reminder of how easily a small detail could unravel everything. The next test was unavoidable. Grandma insisted on visiting a boutique she loved, filled with mirrors and reflective surfaces. Vanessa's reflection multiplied, appearing from every angle, each one a silent observer of perfection and deception. My pulse raced. The mirrors were both ally and enemy, amplifying beauty and danger simultaneously. A sudden jostle in the boutique, an accidental bump from another shopper, sent Vanessa reeling slightly. The heels clicked sharply against the floor. Time seemed to slow. I imagined Mia's grandmother noticing the tiniest misstep, the faintest hesitation. But Vanessa recovered instantly, gracefully steadying herself, bowing slightly in apology, and continuing forward. Leo's relief was tinged with adrenaline, heart pounding in a dangerous rhythm. The final obstacle of part 2 emerged as the boutique shop assistant approached, offering compliments and subtle suggestions. "You'd look perfect in this ensemble," she said, holding up a dress identical to the one I wore. The words felt like a trap, a test of reaction. Vanessa smiled, nodding gracefully, but inside, Leo's mind raced. Could I maintain poise if asked to try another outfit? Could Vanessa remain flawless under mounting pressure? Every reflection, every movement, every compliment heightened suspense. Vanessa's identity was solidifying, but the margin for error had shrunk to nearly nothing. Each microsecond demanded perfection, while Leo lurked beneath the surface, aware of the stakes, every instinct screaming caution. By the time we exited the boutique, the tension had become almost unbearable. Vanessa had passed, surviving every scrutiny and obstacle, yet the encounter had exposed vulnerabilities that could be exploited at any moment. The potion had transformed my body, and Vanessa's persona had proven effective, but the world remained unpredictable. A single misstep could unravel the delicate balance between Leo and Vanessa, threatening secrecy, autonomy, and safety. Walking back through the crowded streets, Vanessa's mind raced. The duality of identity, Leo's caution and Vanessa's confidence, was both exhilarating and terrifying. Every glance from a passerby, every whisper of conversation, reminded me that perfection was temporary, fragile, and constantly under threat. The potion had given life to Vanessa, but the world was the true test. And that test had only just begun. The afternoon shadows stretched long and thin, as if the city itself sensed the tension radiating from Vanessa. Every step through the busy streets felt charged with peril. The first half of the day had tested public composure and microreactions, but now the stakes escalated dramatically. The challenge came unexpectedly. Mia's grandmother, satisfied with my polite demeanor, decided it was time for a small family gathering at a nearby tea house. Vanessa was expected to interact with extended relatives and family friends, strangers who knew Leo, not Vanessa. Every word, every gesture, every laugh became a tightrope walk between charm and exposure. Entering the tea house, Vanessa felt the atmosphere shift immediately. Eyes traced her from head to toe, assessing posture, poise, and subtle mannerisms. The chandelier's light reflected off polished surfaces, creating a hall of mirrors effect, multiplying scrutiny in every direction. Leo's anxiety surged. Every detail of Vanessa's persona could betray the secret. Vanessa's first obstacle appeared in the form of an inquisitive cousin, Rahul, whose eyes were sharp, almost suspicious. "Vanessa, you seem familiar," he said, tilting his head. "Do I know you from somewhere?" My heart skipped. Vanessa's smile remained flawless, but inside, Leo's mind raced. "Oh, Rahul, I just moved into the neighborhood," Vanessa replied, tone soft, voice controlled. "I've heard so much about this family. Every syllable had to be perfect. One slip, one hesitation, could unravel everything." Rahul leaned closer, seemingly studying my face. I forced myself to maintain eye contact, channeling Vanessa's confidence, letting her instincts take over. A polite laugh, a small hand gesture, and the cousin relaxed, distracted by a server offering refreshments. The first real test had passed, but my pulse was hammering. The tea house itself became a maze of tension. Every table had familiar faces, some whispering, some observing silently. Vanessa had to navigate the social currents flawlessly. Laughter here, compliments there, subtle nods of deference, careful avoidance of topics that might expose Leo. The duality of identity stretched to its limits. Vanessa performing with elegance, Leo silently counting every risk, every potential slip. Then came the symbolic moment of heightened suspense. A mirror behind the main table reflected Vanessa fully, her slender form in the elegant dress, the careful sway of her hips, the tilt of her head. Leo's consciousness screamed at every detail, the heels, the delicate hands, the lips perfectly glossed. The reflection magnified the risk. If anyone noticed inconsistencies, the illusion would shatter. The first high-tension accident struck when a server carrying a tray of tea stumbled near our table. Vanessa reacted instantly, catching the tray before it fell, her movements fluid and graceful. Gasps echoed around the table, followed by applause. Relief surged, but the adrenaline didn't fade. Every near miss sharpened the awareness of fragility. Next, a symbolic prop intensified suspense. Grandma's cherished locket, a family heirloom, slipped from her neck, clattering onto the floor. Everyone's attention turned to the moment, and Vanessa instinctively bent gracefully to pick it up. The locket, a metaphor for familial scrutiny and expectations, now rested safely in Grandma's hands, unnoticed by all but me. Leo's heart pounded, aware of how thin the margin between success and exposure had become. The climax of Part 3 arose when Rahul, still inquisitive, casually mentioned a shared childhood memory with Leo. Vanessa had to navigate carefully. My mind raced, pulling fragments of imagination and observation together. "Oh yes, I've heard about that," Vanessa replied, voice calm, tone warm. "It sounds like such a fond memory. I wish I could have been there." The comment, vague yet polite, diverted suspicion. Rahul smiled, seemingly satisfied, but the tension remained, hanging in the air like an invisible thread. By the time tea concluded, Vanessa had survived a gauntlet of social tests, avoiding exposure while performing flawlessly under pressure. The potion had given life to a persona capable of captivating an audience, but the danger was far from over. Every reflection, every glance, every whisper reminded me that perfection was fragile, and the next obstacle could strike without warning. As we left the tea house, Leo's consciousness clung to the shadows, wary and alert, while Vanessa's confidence radiated outward. The city, the apartment, the mirrors, they were all arenas, each reflecting the duality of existence. The climax was far from over. The next stages would push Vanessa to the edge, confronting threats, revelations, and perhaps even betrayal. The evening descended slowly, painting the city in hues of orange and gold. Vanessa's nerves were taut, every heartbeat echoing with the fear of discovery. The public tests had been challenging, but the real danger was only beginning. After returning home briefly, Grandma insisted that Vanessa accompany her to a small dinner with a few close family friends. The intimate setting heightened the stakes, faces familiar, conversations probing, and every word carrying weight. I felt the duality acutely. Vanessa had to charm, Leo had to hide. The first twist arrived immediately. As we entered the dining room, one of the guests, a sharp-eyed family friend, paused and said, "Vanessa, you remind me so much of Leo." The comment hit like a lightning bolt. Vanessa froze for a split second, masking the shock with a polite smile. Leo's panic surged, but Vanessa's instincts took control. "Really?" Vanessa said, voice smooth, hiding the tremor. "I suppose there are certain traits that just feel familiar, don't they?" The smile was effortless, but inside, Leo's mind raced, heart pounding at a feverish pace. Every movement, every inflection could betray the secret lurking beneath. Dinner began, each course presenting a new obstacle. Conversations flowed, but every question about past events, shared memories, or family habits was a potential landmine. Vanessa answered with grace, tact, and charm, but Leo's anxiety was an invisible weight. The more I embodied Vanessa, the more fragile the illusion felt. The first symbolic prop appeared in the form of a delicate teacup Grandma had insisted Vanessa use. Its porcelain thinness mirrored the precariousness of my dual identity. A moment of clumsiness, a slight tremor, threatened to reveal the tension, but Vanessa's reflexes were perfect. The cup remained upright, unbroken, yet the danger was palpable. Next, a sudden emotional challenge. Grandma began recounting a story from Mia's childhood, a tale that involved Leo in real life. Vanessa had to navigate this carefully. "Oh, I've heard that story before," Vanessa said, laughter soft and convincing. "It sounds like so much fun. I wish I could have been part of it." The evasive charm worked, but the internal struggle intensified. Leo's awareness screamed with every fib, every dodge. The peak of suspense in Part 4 arrived when a surprise guest arrived, Mia herself. She stepped into the room, eyes narrowing, scanning Vanessa with an intensity that made my skin crawl. The potion had made the transformation perfect, but Mia's suspicion was a new threat. Vanessa's body remained poised, smiling, bowing slightly as Mia approached. Leo's heartbeat was deafening in my chest, every instinct screaming to flee or change. Mia's expression flickered between confusion and recognition, a dangerous mixture. A final symbolic moment escalated tension to its peak. Vanessa's wig shifted slightly as she turned to pour tea. Time seemed to slow. One wrong move, one glance, and Leo's secret could be exposed. With trembling precision, Vanessa adjusted the wig, smiled warmly, and engaged Mia in polite conversation. The crisis passed, but only just. By the end of Part 4, the stakes could not have been higher. Vanessa had navigated intimate scrutiny, family memories, and the direct presence of someone who knew Leo intimately. The duality of identity, the fine line between exposure and success, was razor-thin. Every reflection, every glance, every gesture underscored the fragility of the world Vanessa had entered. The potion had created perfection, but perfection was dangerous. Any misstep could unravel the carefully constructed persona, exposing both vulnerability and deceit. And as the evening continued, I realized the final stage of climax, the most perilous confrontation yet, was looming. The room was thick with tension. Vanessa could feel every heartbeat in her chest, every pulse a reminder that one misstep could shatter the carefully maintained illusion. Mia's eyes were sharp, scanning Vanessa as if she could see through the polished exterior and into the Leo beneath. Dinner had ended, but the gathering lingered. Conversations continued, laughter masking subtle scrutiny. Each smile Vanessa offered was calculated, each nod carefully measured. Leo's panic simmered beneath the surface, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Then came the moment that escalated the tension to unbearable heights. Grandma, in a gesture meant to honor Vanessa, invited her to serve a special family dessert. The tray was delicate, adorned with crystal bowls, and carrying it required poise, balance, and flawless composure. Vanessa's hands trembled slightly, not from fear of dropping the dessert, but from the awareness of Mia's presence and scrutiny. As Vanessa moved forward, the heels clicked against the polished floor. Each sound echoed, a reminder of the precarious balance between perfection and exposure. A sudden distraction, a curious toddler darting between legs, forced a sudden step to the side. Vanessa's reflexes were precise, but the tray wobbled dangerously. Gasps filled the room. Leo's heart raced. Vanessa steadied the tray, smiled brightly, and placed the desserts on the table. The crisis passed, but the adrenaline left a lingering tremor. The symbolic weight of the tray, like the dual identity, had almost faltered. The final obstacle emerged in the form of a question from Mia herself. "Vanessa, you're so graceful, almost too graceful. How do you manage it?" Her tone was light, but the underlying suspicion cut like a knife. Vanessa's mind raced. Every answer had to maintain the illusion, deflect curiosity, and protect Leo's secret. "Oh, it's all about confidence and practice," Vanessa replied, voice calm, smile perfect. "Grandma taught me well." The words were smooth, but Leo's inner turmoil surged. Each syllable was a performance, each gesture a careful dance between two identities. Then came the symbolic and dramatic peak. Grandma handed Vanessa a family heirloom, a delicate necklace meant to symbolize the perfect daughter-in-law. Holding it, Vanessa felt the weight not just of the jewelry, but of expectation, identity, and secrecy. One wrong move, dropping it, misplacing it, or letting Mia see hesitation, could unravel everything. Vanessa's hands were steady. The necklace was clasped perfectly around her neck. She smiled at Grandma, radiating warmth and gratitude. Mia studied her, eyes narrowing, but seemed satisfied for now. Leo's relief was immense, yet fragile. Every second reinforced the delicate balance of duality, the razor-thin line between success and disaster. As the evening drew to a close, Vanessa navigated final conversations with elegance, masking every trace of fear. Yet the awareness remained. The potion had created perfection, but perfection was fragile. The dual identity, the constant vigilance, and the ever-present threat of exposure were inescapable. By the time we returned home, Vanessa's confidence had grown, but the suspense lingered. Each reflection, each mirror, each shadow in the apartment reminded me that the climax was only partially resolved. The world beyond, the expectations, and the constant risk of discovery awaited in the next chapter. The apartment was quiet, the kind of silence that pressed against your ears and made every heartbeat loud. Vanessa sat on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped tightly, still dressed in the elegant outfit that had carried her through the day. The potion had worked perfectly, her transformation was flawless, but the events of the evening left a lingering tension that refused to fade. Leo's mind raced beneath Vanessa's composed exterior. The family gathering had been a gauntlet, each conversation a test of grace, poise, and deception. And Mia's subtle glances, curious, searching, probing, had felt like sharp knives, slicing through the illusion with silent suspicion. Vanessa removed the heels carefully, flexing sore toes. The relief was temporary. Every mirror in the apartment reflected two selves, the confident, composed Vanessa and the panicked, vulnerable Leo. The reflection was a stark reminder of how thin the line between success and exposure truly was. A sudden knock at the door froze Vanessa in place. The sound was unexpected, intrusive, jarring. Leo's pulse skyrocketed. Who could it be? No one had planned a visit. Grandma's family friends had left hours ago. Vanessa's mind spun, imagining the worst-case scenarios, a neighbor who recognized Leo, Mia returning too early, or even someone discovering the potion. Slowly, Vanessa approached the door, each step measured, controlled. The peephole revealed a silhouette, familiar, yet uncertain. A moment of hesitation passed. The hand reached for the doorknob. "Vanessa?" A voice called softly, and Leo's stomach dropped. It was Mia. Her eyes, sharp and questioning, met Vanessa's through the slightly cracked door. "Hey, I thought you might still be at your place," Mia said, tone casual but carrying an undercurrent of suspicion. "Can we talk?" Vanessa's mind raced. One word, one gesture, and the carefully constructed illusion could shatter. The potion had transformed the body, but the mind, the thoughts, fears, and secrets remained dangerously human. Leo swallowed, feeling Vanessa's composure strain under the pressure. "Of course," Vanessa replied, voice steady, hiding the panic underneath. "Come in." Mia stepped inside, scanning the apartment with an almost imperceptible frown. Her gaze lingered on the dress, the hair, the accessories. Leo felt exposed, vulnerable, every layer of disguise under scrutiny. A sudden symbolic moment heightened the tension further. Grandma's heirloom necklace glinted under the soft light, and Mia's eyes flicked toward it. She smiled faintly, curiosity mixed with something more, recognition, perhaps suspicion. "You've changed," Mia said softly, voice teasing but probing. "I mean, it suits you, but it's different." Vanessa forced a laugh, hiding the storm of emotions inside. "I guess it's just a little makeover," she said lightly. The words were simple, but Leo's heart hammered with fear. Every subtle inflection could betray the secret identity. Mia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You've been hiding something from me, haven't you?" The words sliced through the room, sharp and unavoidable. Leo's panic surged. This was the moment of reckoning, the instant where deception could collapse. Vanessa's mind spun, weighing options: deny, deflect, or confess. Every choice carried risks, and the tension in the room was almost unbearable. The potion had given physical perfection, but nothing could prepare Leo for this emotional confrontation. Mia's eyes softened slightly, yet remained sharp. I don't know what to think," she said, stepping back, her gaze still fixed. "But I need you to be honest with me." Vanessa's hands trembled imperceptibly as she reached for a glass of water, buying time. Each second stretched, every heartbeat echoing in the room like a drumbeat of suspense. The dual identity hung in balance. One wrong word, one slip of composure, and the secret would be laid bare. And then the doorbell rang again, startling both of them. Vanessa froze. Leo's stomach twisted. Another visitor? More family? Or worse, someone who could reveal everything? Mia turned toward the sound, frown deepening. Who could that be now? She asked, voice tense. Vanessa remained silent, mind racing. The suspense was unbearable. Every reflection, every shadow, every heartbeat reminded Leo that the world had become a dangerous place, where one misstep could destroy everything. Vanessa forced a smile, heart hammering, and opened the door slightly. The hallway outside was empty, yet a single envelope lay on the welcome mat. Vanessa picked it up, hands shaking slightly. The envelope was unmarked, the contents unknown, a silent promise of revelations yet to come. Mia's eyes followed every movement, her curiosity piqued. "What is it?" she asked, voice soft but edged with tension. Vanessa held the envelope carefully, feeling the weight of uncertainty. The room seemed to contract, the world narrowing down to this single moment. A mixture of fear, excitement, and dread coiled tightly in Leo's chest. As Vanessa hesitated, the camera of imagination would linger here, leaving viewers on the edge. The envelope's contents unknown, Mia's suspicion growing, and Vanessa's dual identity poised precariously between exposure and control. Vanessa had been practicing her new persona for hours, every step, every gesture, every smile meticulously crafted. The potion's effects were now fully visible: soft skin, delicate features, and a voice that carried a melodic, feminine tone. She looked into the mirror and barely recognized Leo. Vanessa had become a convincing, elegant young woman. But the thrill of transformation came with a sharp edge of anxiety. A knock at the door startled her, and her heart skipped a beat. It was the mailman, but in that instant, every second felt like a test. Vanessa quickly hid her heels behind a chair and slipped a robe over her dress. The mundane act of receiving mail became a tense game of concealment. As she opened the door, a small package lay on the mat. While retrieving it, Vanessa caught her reflection in the window, her posture, her delicate hands, the curve of her hair, and a shiver ran down Leo's spine. The realization hit hard. The dual identity was no longer private. Even brief exposure could reveal everything. Inside, Grandma's voice echoed from the hallway, reminding Vanessa that tonight's family dinner would be her ultimate test. Vanessa's mind raced. Could she maintain this persona for hours under close observation? Could she hide the trembling excitement beneath her composed exterior? Every thought sharpened the suspense, layering fear and exhilaration as the night approached. Symbolic props, the delicate robe, the package she carried, the mirror reflection, emphasized the fragility of her new identity. Every movement, every glance, felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of exposure. By the end of Part 4, Vanessa understood that the potion had given her more than beauty. It had given her the responsibility of perfect deception, and one misstep could shatter everything she had worked to build. The evening had settled into a deceptive calm. Vanessa, still adjusting to the curves of her new form, the delicate sway of her hips and heels, and the subtle lilt of her transformed voice, felt a growing tension in her chest. Each mirror reflected a stranger. Leo's familiar gaze merged with Vanessa's perfect, polished exterior. She was beautiful, flawless, but utterly exposed. Then came the sound that shattered the fragile calm, a sharp, insistent knock at the door. Vanessa froze. Her pulse surged. It wasn't Grandma or any of the expected family members. Every instinct screamed danger. The potion had granted perfection, but perfection had a cost: absolute vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, Vanessa smoothed the skirt of her dress and tiptoed toward the door. The knob felt unnaturally cold beneath her trembling fingers. She peeked through the peephole. A figure stood outside, familiar, yet impossible. It was Leo's old college friend, someone who knew Leo well and who had never met Vanessa. Panic erupted. Leo's mind raced. How much could this person see? Would they recognize the differences? Or worse, suspect the truth hidden beneath the elegant exterior? Vanessa opened the door just enough to mask herself behind the doorframe. The friend smiled, holding a small envelope. "Hey, I thought I dropped this by," they said cheerfully. "Just something from the old days. Thought it might be fun." Leo swallowed. Every heartbeat echoed in Vanessa's chest. The envelope was innocuous enough, but symbolism weighed heavily. It could contain a letter, a photograph, something that might unravel years of secrecy. The tension was unbearable. Vanessa took the envelope with hands that refused to be steady. "Thanks, that's really thoughtful," she said, voice calm but strained. Every word was a careful performance, every gesture choreographed to perfection. As the friend left, Vanessa closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling shakily. The potion's magic had created a flawless exterior, but the world outside was unpredictable, dangerous. One small encounter could lead to exposure, ridicule, or worse. The mirror in the hallway reflected Vanessa's two selves, Leo's anxious eyes beneath the smooth veneer of Vanessa's face. Her new form was seductive, elegant, convincing, but fragile. Every reflection reminded her that maintaining this illusion would require constant vigilance. Then a more subtle tension crept in. Mia's arrival was expected any minute. Would she notice the changes, the delicate traces of Leo still lingering in Vanessa's posture, voice, or expressions? Every sound, every shadow, every mirror heightened the suspense. Vanessa's internal struggle deepened. Could she remain calm, maintain the persona, and survive the scrutiny of both family and Mia? The potion had granted perfection, but perfection was a precarious balance, and the stakes were higher than ever. By the end of Part 6, the tension had reached a critical peak. The stage was set for confrontation, revelation, and the ultimate test of Vanessa's ability to keep Leo's secret safe. The family living room was buzzing with laughter and conversation. Vanessa moved gracefully among the guests, her every gesture poised, every word measured. The potion had made her flawless, skin glowing, hair perfect, and voice melodic, but inside, Leo's anxiety surged like a tidal wave. One slip, one misstep, and everything would collapse. Grandma watched from her favorite chair, her eyes twinkling with satisfaction. "You're doing wonderfully, dear," she said, her tone gentle but commanding. "Remember, perfection isn't just about appearance, it's about composure." Vanessa nodded, forcing a confident smile. The heels pinched, her muscles ached, but the thrill of the transformation masked the discomfort. Every reflection, every glance from a guest, every subtle whisper heightened the tension. Suddenly, Mia arrived, earlier than expected. Her eyes swept the room, scanning faces and finally settling on Vanessa. There was a moment of silence as Mia's gaze locked with Vanessa's. Leo's heart thudded violently. The room felt smaller, every sound amplified, every shadow a potential threat. Mia stepped closer, voice calm but probing. "Vanessa, you've changed. It suits you, but there's something different. Something I can't quite place." Vanessa's mind raced. Could she maintain the facade? One wrong expression, one inflection of Leo's old voice, and it would all be revealed. She smiled delicately, letting Vanessa's elegance take over. "Oh, just a little makeover, that's all," she said lightly. A sudden commotion at the doorway startled everyone. The envelope from earlier had slipped from Vanessa's clutch and landed at Mia's feet. She picked it up, curiosity flickering in her eyes. Vanessa's pulse skyrocketed. The contents were unknown, proof of Leo's secret, or just a harmless note. The suspense was unbearable. Mia opened it slowly. Her expression changed, subtle confusion, a hint of recognition. Vanessa's breath caught. Every muscle tensed, every thought sharpened to a knife's edge. The room seemed to hold its collective breath. Grandma cleared her throat gently. "Remember, appearances can be deceiving," she said cryptically, adding another layer of tension. Vanessa's hands trembled slightly, but she forced a serene smile. Every reflection in the mirrors, every shadow on the walls, emphasized her dual identity, Leo trapped inside Vanessa's perfect exterior. Mia looked from the envelope to Vanessa, her eyes narrowing slightly. I don't know what to think, she admitted. But something feels off. The screen would freeze on Vanessa's expression, perfectly poised, perfectly calm on the outside, yet trembling with fear and anticipation on the inside. Her reflection in the mirror captured two selves, the elegant daughter-in-law and the anxious young man underneath. The scene fades to black, leaving viewers with the ultimate suspense. What's inside the envelope? Will Mia discover Vanessa's true identity? Can Leo maintain the illusion, or will the secret unravel? The cliffhanger leaves viewers on the edge of their seats, sparking speculation and engagement.